The presenting sponsor of Upmarket is Aereo, the best place to grow and manage your real estate media business online at aereo.com. That's ARYEO.com. Coming to you from the Upmarket studio at Gasworks in beautiful San Buenaventura, California, this is Upmarket, a podcast about the business of real estate photography and media. My name is Reed Fish. I am the CEO and a co-founder of Upmarket Media, and I'm feeling a little bare here. I don't have any other co-founders with me. No Mark today, no Chelsea. Chelsea's in Italy. Can you believe that? I can. She loves Italy. She's always going to Italy. It seems like it anyway. Anyway, happy for her that she's out gallivanting in Italy while I'm here in beautiful sunny Ventura with the ocean and everything. So my life ain't so bad either. Look, enough about the present. Let's talk about the future. The future is coming November 18th through 20th. We're talking about PMRE here once again, the Photography and Media for Real Estate Conference. This is year number 6, year 2 at the Palms Hotel, Casino and Resort. It is going to be a phenomenal event. You've already heard some of the speakers on here. You're going to hear it from another one today and more in the weeks and months to come. But get in there. Go to PMREconference.com. Go check it out. Early bird tickets are now sold out, but that does not mean you should not get it. You want to get in there. Even still, get in there. It's not the early bird price, but it's still a great deal. Get in there. Get your ticket, get that hotel book because there's limited hotel rooms. If you have already gotten your ticket, make sure you get in there. You have the link that they sent to you after you buy your ticket to get in there and reserve rooms at a very reasonable rate, like $130, $120, something like that at the Palms. Fantastic hotel, an amazing event. And of course, we are so delighted once again this year to present our Road to PMRE episodes by a special sponsorship from iGUIDE. So iGUIDE, right now, they are doing their tour to PMRE, partnering with us, and they're doing a couple big giveaways. So there's two things. The early bird drawing is coming up. I believe it is July. The deadline, I think, is July 6th, end of day, July 6th. You want to get in there. It's very easy to enter. All you do is you go to goiguide.com/PMRE, you enter your email address, and then you go to Instagram, and you're going to make sure you want to follow 2 accounts. One is go_iGuide, and 2 is, look at that, Upmarket Pod. So you give a follow to both of us and get your email address in at goiguide.com/PMRE. You're going to be entered to win 2 things. If you're in by July 6th, you're going to be entered into the early bird drawing for a $500 Amazon gift certificate. You can spend that on whatever you want. You can buy $500 worth of sunflower seeds if you want. I don't necessarily recommend that, but it is something you could do. But more importantly than the early bird drawing is the grand prize, which is a all expenses paid trip to PMRE. Now, iGUIDE's going to cover your ticket, your airfare, and give you a little scratch to spend while you're there and all your transfers. Yeah, it's an all expenses paid trip. So, look at the fine print. Get in there. Go to goiguide.com/PMRE. You want to make sure you're in on that because you get a free ticket, a free trip to Las Vegas. And if you've already bought your ticket, already paid for your airfare, all that kind of stuff, they will reimburse you. So please don't hesitate to enter, even if you've already gotten your tickets. Oh, and if we're talking a Road to PMRE episode, we got a PMRE speaker with us, and this is one of the, I'm going to go ahead and say it, one of the biggest names that we have at PMRE 2025. It is the renowned photographer of architecture, Simon Devitt. Simon, you're joining us all the way from New Zealand, and you just told me right before we started that you are traveling 250 days out of the year. Is that right?
Accurate.
And right now you're in Auckland, New Zealand, and you are Kiwi, and so you are kind of in your home region. Is that right?
Yeah, I'm from Auckland, but I haven't lived in Auckland for 5 years. I live in Wellington, which is further south, the capital of New Zealand. A much smaller, but also much more, I think, livable city.
Okay.
The scale is smaller. It's a harbour city, and don't have to live in your car too much.
Yeah, right.
Traffic,
well,
not as bad.
My business partner, Mark Corcoran, is also Kiwi, and he told me to tell you hi.
Oh,
So,
hi, Mark. Yeah, he's my second cousin sister.
Oh, that's what I thought. You're all very. The great thing is actually I've been working with Mark for 5 years or whatever it's been, and and just he's a delight. And I feel like everyone from New Zealand I've ever met is like so chill and nice and wonderful. I don't know. I'm kind of in awe of you guys.
You need to come on down and say hi.
Oh, I want to. It is definitely on my list. So when you're traveling, so you're just doing architecture. You don't really have you spent time in the real estate photography area, or did you kind of do that and graduate to architecture? Not that it's graduate; it's just a different thing. They're both great and wonderful, but
they are both great, and the area between them is very great for me. I think there was a time very early on where I did shoot some real estate for high-end real estate companies here, and a little bit in Australia at that time as well, and then really nothing for a long time until more recent years, like the last maybe 3, where some of the bigger brands in real estate down here, some are local, some are international, have started coming to me and getting me to shoot some of the very sort of high-end stuff, which is then on sort of more on my terms than having to be on their terms when I started out, if you know what I mean. So
yeah, well, I do. Well, that's fascinating because, I know you listened to it. We just had Mike Kelly on a few weeks ago, and, you guys seem to be, kind of peers in the architecture world. And he was just talking about how he shoots real estate all the time. And in fact, he actually prefers it. And I think it's because he can do it on his terms, where most of us in the day-to-day real estate grind are kind of still doing it on the realtor's terms. And I think, I'm pushing for us to all, have better boundaries and push back. But that must make it more fun when you're doing it on your terms.
Totally. Yeah. Yeah. For me, it's always been about the bigger picture, beyond architecture, beyond real estate, beyond a house, beyond a building. It's a lot more, I think, you might call it anthropological or sociological. It's sort of that bigger picture of what we're all up to. And that fascinates me as much as the architecture and how we live and what we do and how we're using these spaces that we live in and work in and play in. So for me, it's a lot about people in the pictures whenever possible and the landscape, the context of what we're looking at. All 3 of those things become really vital ingredients and provide clues to what this is all about, really.
And you're able to do that when you're shooting real estate, or because you can't put people in it if you're doing real estate, right? Or are you doing these sorts of shoots where you're doing a little lifestyle element in there?
Sometimes there is, yeah. A lot of the time, whether it's for an architect or for a real estate company, people are at work, paying off these enormous mortgages, so there aren't people around. So it does take some doing, some arranging, some good question aimed well before the shoot. And I think when it's 2 or 3 weeks out, that's when things can be organized and good questions can be asked.
Right.
For me, it's that knowing what to ask for in the right order. It's appropriate for that sense of occasion. So when you get to the house and there's a massive trampoline in the front yard and you go, oh, God damn it, that's going to ruin the shoot. That's no one's fault apart from the photographer because they didn't ask. I think it's really important to prepare the space with as little compromise as possible so that you get to enjoy that day as much as possible. And for me, if I get a sense that space would be really good with some people in it, the family that live in the house maybe, or maybe it's the architect that comes along with a couple of his kids or her kids, and we get to do some of the shoot, even if it's a well-aimed sort of 10 minutes or 15 minutes at the right time of day, and then we do other pictures that don't have people, then we've got a whole different shoot to contend with when we sit down and do the edit.
Well, and I think with the people in the real estate photos, I mean, I know in the United States, you cannot have people in real estate photos that you're putting on the MLS, right? But I do think there's probably actually, I think it's, unless it's against some of the realtor associations, marketing guidelines or some rules that I don't know about because I'm not a realtor, there could be space though to have these kind of real estate shoots where you are featuring people in them that are not for photos for the MLS. They could be photos for print or websites or digital as well. Is there rules in New Zealand, Australia about that? If you can have people in the actual marketing photos for the properties?
I think it's less prescribed and more preference. And historically, people, particularly in real estate, there's a language visually, right? And that's changing. Fortunately, I think there's more scope for style, including things like mood and people, as opposed to just 28mm lens shot on a 3/4 view across a room.
Yeah. Well, all the marketing now, I feel like there's saturation of most realtors using professional photographers. You just have to keep pushing the envelope to kind of set yourself apart, because that's what marketing is all about, is making a case for yourself as a realtor. So you got to push those boundaries. And then now, when you're traveling 250 days out of the year, are you focused kind of in Oceania down there, or are you flying all over the world for shoots?
Being that we're a million miles away from anywhere, it is. It's not that I can fly across the English Channel or across the Atlantic even. We're much further away than that. We're a 12-hour flight from Los Angeles, so it takes some organizing, some trust from people in other countries that they may not normally have for someone who needs to travel for 12 hours to them. In amongst that 250 days a year, I'm traveling to other countries for shoots, including Australia, the US, and to Asia. Probably 6 times, 7 times a year, and that's enough. And that's
a lot
for me. And for those trips, it's not clearly going to be for one project. It's usually that there's a minimum of 3, often 5, and that makes it worthwhile for everyone involved.
Sure. Yeah, but that sounds. But ultimately, that sounds grueling. And I mean, how's your how are you holding up year after year?
Well, this is year 30. What that tells me is that time goes very quickly.
Yeah.
And the skincare regime's clearly working.
Yeah.
I should get some sponsors on board. No, it's that, for me, it's that beautiful fight to be at home. And I really love being at home, particularly with family, and it's not lost on me that when I am there, it's incredibly valuable. Like I'm probably even more grateful now than I've ever been with that. And so it's nice to have both. Like, I really love what I do as a photographer, and I get to be really, with the work that I create and the clients that I have, and what I ask for when I'm engaging with new clients, is that I get to be really playful, and I get to be I get to enjoy this as much as possible. And I've never enjoyed it more than I have now. Like, it just really genuinely feels like I'm just getting started.
Now, do you feel like you're enjoying it more because you are able to bring more of your authentic self as you've become a bigger name in the industry and more sought after, where, just like you're kind of saying on the real estate stuff, you can kind of dictate the terms a little bit more because you have a little more leverage maybe than the client does? And then if you are kind of wanting to bring that playfulness, I mean, that's not something you hear about in architectural photography very much, right? So because you're able to be this authentic self, the authentic you, is that really why you're enjoying it more?
Oh, I think that's definitely a part of it. There are different ingredients that contribute to this, and what's really pleasing is that experience compounds. And that feeling of 1 + 1 = 6 and not 2 is a really, really terrific feeling. It's something that I have noticed, and we all hope to be, at any point we find ourselves in now, like the best version of ourselves now, and I really feel like
speak for yourself.
I'm
still working on it.
It's always a work on, right? There's always something to do. But I feel things are great. Your hair looks great too.
I know. Well, I feel like the light's hitting me and I'm looking like haggard or something. Like, I'm just like, I'm a little, it's been a hectic day today. So I've been running around a little bit, and we're just getting, we're recording this a little before it comes out, but last week of school, although, running around doing the summer started, and Dad's got a podcast, so it's, life's rough over here for Reed.
You're a busy man.
Actually, life is actually great. So I it's not rough. But it can be hectic though.
Cool.
But then are you finding then too, within that and what we like to talk about a lot on this show is kind of work-life balance. And it seems to me traveling that 250 days a year, that can be tough to have that work-life balance. And it does sound though when you're home, that is a really important time for you. But are you able, because you're gone so much, are you able to be more present when you're home, or are you still like chasing the work, having to do all the other stuff that's not just the photographing? Are you having to you manage the post-production, having to do the booking, or do you have a staff that works for you, or how are you able to have the time at home that is so special?
Incredibly aware that when I am home with my family, that they get all of me. Mm-hmm. And so it's sense of occasion and what's appropriate for me that's important. The girls go to school. I've got plenty of time when I am at home to do what I need to do. I've got people that do help me. I've got a retoucher I've worked with for the last, I think, 17 years now. And anything that goes to print, he gets involved in. Any retouching at all. He's much better at that than I have ever been. And I think it's about getting the right people on board to make sure that you're offering exactly what it is you want to offer and in the right, in the right order, and making sure they get it in good time. All those things are important, right, in any business. And I'm much better out there meeting new clients, meeting with my existing clients and making pictures, and the rest of it is really anyone could be doing for me.
Yeah, no, and that's what we always advocate is, make that list of what can only I do, and then if there's things on the list that other people can do, have them do them if you have the resources for that. I think that's like the first key to in this industry to having a kind of successful work-life balance is just being able to delegate. I mean, you just kind of have to be able to do it, or just charge enough where you can take so few clients that you actually can have a life outside of work. But because when you work, you make so much money and then it all works out fine. So we're trying for somewhere in between. Charging a lot, but not doing any of it. That's what I want to do. Yeah. I don't know. I don't know if we're there yet, but, and then, and you're working mostly, the clients you have, you're working mostly for architectural firms, but you're not doing like hospitality work really. You're just kind of working with designers, architects.
Yeah. A little more in the hospitality area. It's something that I dabbled in earlier on and had some experiences that left me kind of indifferent about it. I think it's a lot about enjoying the clients, working with the clients you have, right, as much as it is the work itself.
Right.
And I've worked with some great people in the hospitality sector and some that are, less enjoyable. So more
Name
recently,
names, please.
More recently I've been really enjoying that, and so I've been shooting a few more hotels and bars and restaurants, and I really love the vibrancy and the variation on the work. If I was just shooting, one typology, like Mike Kelly on occasions complained about shooting billionaire white boxes, and I kind of get it. If you're just shooting one thing, can get a little bit stale maybe. So having that variation, that vibrancy, and we get plenty of that down here.
No, that's good.
Residential, but some schools, some big buildings, and some hospitality is great.
Yeah, I think we really fight that in the real estate world, because we're just shooting pretty much primarily homes, and whatever area you're in, there's the nicer ones, there's the middle ones, and there's the lower end ones, and it doesn't, not a lot of variation sometimes, and it can just be that grind. So I love the power of trying to change things up, and so that's what I'm going to do right now. So I think we've been talking. I'm going to change things up. We're going to take a little break. We're going to do our social media sidebar. We're going to come back. We're going to hear what Simon is going to talk about in his workshop, which I think I'm kind of tempted to take, except I don't take photographs anymore, so why would I take it? But I'm still tempted. We were going to hear all about that, and then we're going to end the show, of course, with action items. So stick around. Yeah, so my life has been a living hell. Mark was in Costa Rica. Chelsea's been in Italy. So guess who was holding it down? That's right, the big dog, Reed, holding it down, doing all the admin. I wasn't out. Well, I did have to get out and shoot a little bit, but thankfully I wasn't doing that part of Mark's job, but I was doing all the other. He does so much stuff, and then he's gone, and I'm like, oh God, that guy does a lot of stuff. So I, in addition to all the stuff I do, I had to do all the stuff Mark does, and I had to do all the stuff that Chelsea does. And it was a living hell. The only thing, and I mean this, the only thing that got me through that horrific week was Aereo. Without Aereo, I don't know how I could have kept everything straight. I don't know how I could have interacted with the customers, how I could have delivered all the photos, took all the orders, did all the scheduling, did, I don't know, what else did I do? Oh God, added floor plans and did Matterports and did iGUIDEs and did this and that. Oh my goodness. It was a whirlwind for me. It was also, I think, the first week of summer break, and I had my kid, and what a week it was for me. What a week. But thank you, Aereo. You got me through. So go to aereo.com, ARYEO.com. Use the code Upmarket, and you're going to get 15 free. Oh, that's right. Free bonus listings. Recently stayed in a hotel. I was up there in that hotel room, and I thought, man, I could use a floor plan. Sometimes you just it's kind of like an addiction. Sometimes you're just sitting there, and all of a sudden you just start jonesing, you just start shaking, you don't want to go back to that well, but you do, it might be bad for you. So you just got to do what you got to do. And so I whipped out my phone, opened up that second floor app, and I made myself a freaking floor plan. And you know what? My need was satiated virtually instantly, because I walked through that hotel room and I just, tap the button, and boom, instant floor plan. I knew the square footage of that room. I knew where all the fixtures were. I knew where the window was, the door, those were all on the floor plan, and it was instant. Second floor app, my goodness, get in there, get that app, because you can make a floor plan, and you might want to do it when you're actually out shooting a house, and then you can do the floor plan, and then you can deliver it right to the client and upcharge them $100 or something. Ooh, that's what I like. So that would have, that was, my hotel room was more than that, but I wish I could have charged them $100 for that floor plan, because I, got a nice discount. But if you want to get in on this action, go to secondfloorapp.com. That second floor app, all spelled out, .com/upmarket, and you are going to get a free month of service. And you can, that's 30 days of service. So you can stay in 30 different hotel rooms over that 30 days and have 30 different floor plans all instantly. Secondfloorapp.com/upmarket. All right, social media sidebar time. Of course, we're Upmarket Pod across all social media. You can follow our parent company, Upmarket.media is where we are on Instagram. Personally, I'm ReedFish, LYSM on Instagram. Check out my other podcast, ILYSM Pod, also on Instagram. Really enjoying that, and it's going some really fun stuff. So, Simon, where are we finding you on the old Instagram?
I think the most recent one is Simon Devitt _photographer.
There you go.
I say that because I had a different handle a little while ago, and a story that goes with it that I won't. I'll give you the shortened version.
Yeah. It's a podcast. We can talk as long as we want.
I on occasion share a meme or two on Instagram.
Well, that's my next question for you. But yeah, go ahead. Let's finish this story.
Some people may have seen one or two of those. And on my previous account, I shared a comedian's a clip, and it was clearly, that comedian performing. And they, for whatever reason, took exception and complained to Instagram. And that was enough for Instagram to decide that I shouldn't be on Instagram anymore, which was kind of weird and curious because it was just very sudden. And then 2 days later, that same person sent me an email blackmailing me to pay them $10,000 US to withdraw the complaint. And it was a generic enough kind of email that I thought, well, that's a side hustle for them.
Yeah. Yeah.
So Instagram being what they are and as big as they are, they're not in any kind of shape to look at things on an individual case basis.
Sure.
So so it was there and then it was gone. But here we are. This is sort of round 2.
All right. Well, don't share from that comedian.
Don't share from that comedian is the moral to that story.
Yeah. So I do want to say that because I actually just recently started following you from the podcast account because I knew you were going to be on it at PMRE, and it's like, man, Simon's good. Like, he's a good photographer. It's just a beautiful shot. I mean, just evocative, and then 100 memes. I mean, the amount of memes, and this is not a criticism in any way, shape, or form, but the amount of memes that Simon Devitt posts on Instagram is truly astounding. I do not know how you do it. It's like the little dots on the stories at the top. It's just like dot, 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 dot. There's so many stories. How do you even do this? Like, how do you do it?
I've been collecting memes since I think 2009.
Mm-hmm.
And so there are, I think, about 44,000 or something now.
Okay.
I'd like to say they're all curated and in different folders with themes and genres and keywords, but no, they're in one folder.
Okay.
And what I like about that, because there's always an upside, right, Reed, with these things?
Yeah.
Is that it relies on my memory to curate.
Oh, okay.
If I want to make any sense of any of them and do something that's generally related, I have to remember where they are, and so it does, help with some a bit of neural pathway action.
Right, it's like your brain game. Well, it is interesting. And now, having talked to you for half an hour or whatever, I'm like, it's not real matching up for me here. Like you're like this kind of a very like calm, measured person, and then like you're the meme king online. It's like you got these two different personas. So I got to square this in my mind. It's kind of fascinating. And so you're just like giving me like the death stare right now. It's like this is not the meme guy. Maybe that's going to be the new meme, is the Simon Devitt death stare, talking about his meme habit.
I think we live in a startling, complex, quite a serious world we find ourselves in now, where there's seemingly no safe place anymore for people to exercise their quirks. Art used to be a safe place.
Right.
Once. Comedy used to be a safe place. When I think of shows like you may have had Little Britain, a sketch comedy show based in the UK. You may have had that in the States. I'm not sure. Some of your listeners will definitely know what I'm talking about.
Yeah, we have it here.
You couldn't make that now. Like, it would be impossible.
Right.
That really wasn't that long ago. So I think for me, I really value comedy. I really value laughter and being playful. The more the better. Like, and I think it's an outlet for me. It's a way to kind of show another side of who I am. And if people are having a laugh, then I think great.
Yeah, and I think it's funny, and it is really just what is almost the more amusing is just the kind of the dichotomy between your outward work and then that side of you. And it's like, it's really, all joking aside, it's kind of cool to see, because I think a lot of people really think that architectural photographers take themselves way too seriously. And then you kind of have this calm demeanor where, I bet this guy, he's all full of himself. And then it's like, you're just like the wildest ass memes, you're just like spewing them out like machine gun fire. So it's a cool thing. So all right, so anyway, all that being said, is go follow Simon on Instagram if you like memes. If you don't like memes, it might not be a recommended follow for you, I hate to say, but
you'll only find them on the story bar. They're not in post.
That's right. Yeah. You can hide the stories from them. Yeah.
I'm a photographer as well, so there's a bit of my work in me.
Yeah. All right. Great. All right. Well, we're gonna take a break again, and we're gonna come back. We're gonna talk PMRE, and we're gonna end this thing with action items. It wouldn't be a Road to PMRE show without doing a little bit of talk about iGUIDE, because we are partnering with them. And come on, Skylar Lawrence LaBelle joining us once again from iGUIDE. And Skylar, here's the thing. Like, I get it. There's so many 3D tour options at this point, and they're basically all the same. I mean, you just get, like, you do the scan and then you get the thing, and that's it. You can't even change it. You can't do anything with it. I mean, how does iGUIDE, like, I mean, are you going to look into, like, changing that, or what's going on?
I think we already have, but let me tell you why.
Oh my God.
Virtual tour is great. Really, at iGUIDE, though, we're floor plan first, so it's not an add-on you're paying. Every time you use our camera, every iGUIDE you get, you're going to get the floor plan with it, which, you know, both agents and buyers. Yeah, the virtual tour is nice. Buyers want floor plans. It's you know, second behind photos if you look at most studies. So you're getting a floor plan with every iGUIDE. But then two, something that, you know, really separates us is you can think of iGUIDE really as a content delivery system. So yes, you'll have your virtual tour and your floor plan, but many of our, you know, photographers are loading drone into it, or video. You can load your stills, and it becomes this content delivery system, all served up in the iGUIDE report. And then you can pass that along to your agent. So it packages everything nicely together. You're not fighting with multiple links, and gives that agent everything they need to create that online listing.
Yeah, that is really different than anyone else is doing in the kind of virtual tour 3D space. So yeah, that's some pretty powerful stuff. Yeah, I've seen the aerials with that, and it ends up being pretty cool. All right, well, Skylar, so you can find all about that at goiguide.com. So go check it out. Thank you, Skylar.
Thanks for having me.
All right. Nice coupon codes for things running out there, and one I like is Upmarket 25, because if you go to fotello.co, that is an AI editing service that is amazing, and if you use the code Upmarket 25 there, you are going to get 25 free listings, which is about a $500 value. I mean, that's some big time money. We love our listeners. We're just giving value everywhere you go. We've been toying with Fotello for some AI editing, and it is pretty remarkable. Look, they are going to give you consistent, high quality edits every single time. The pricing is affordable. It's as low as like $12 a listing, and it doesn't matter if there's 20 photos in that listing or 100. It's still all the same price. And look, if the AI messes up, which, let's be honest, AI messes up sometimes, human revisions are available within 6 hours for requests. So it's still going to be a much quicker turnaround than traditional editors. They have a really slick interface. They're making upgrades to their system all the time. I'd highly recommend. That's fotello.co, Fotello.co. Use the code Upmarket25, and you are going to get 25 free listings. And this is ethical AI. All the training for this AI engine have been done with ethically sourced photos where Fotello has the rights to use them. So that is something that I love. You know how I don't like people stealing photos. Fotello's not doing that. Fotello.co. Let's continue our conversation with Simon Devitt. And Simon, you know, PMRE 2025 is coming up. It feels like it's far away, but it's actually every day that goes by is a day closer to November 18th through 20th at the Palms Casino and Resort in Las Vegas, Nevada. Go to PMREconference.com to get registered, to get ready, and also sign up for Simon's workshop, which I think is going to be an extraordinary thing to do. So Simon, twofold. Maybe talk about your workshop a little bit first, and then I want to hear kind of what you're going to talk about on stage, if you don't mind.
Certainly. I just to give that a little bit of background, I've I think 2009 I started lecturing at Auckland University here in New Zealand, and after 10 years of doing that, I thought, well, that's got a nice ring to it. or leave it at 10.
Mm-hmm.
What I was able to do during that 10 years was, for some reason, and I still kind of ask myself why, they let me just create my own paper at university to teach what I wanted to teach.
Okay.
And so you can imagine I gave that a little bit of thought before creating a paper.
Mm-hmm. And what do you mean by creating a paper?
It was at the School of Architecture at Auckland University. It's for third-year architecture students learning about photography.
Okay.
And
does a paper mean like a syllabus or something? I don't know the term in that context.
A paper like another subject, more credits, more points for your overall end of year, score. And so I was able to teach what I wanted to teach in the way I wanted to teach it. And so I was able to use that as an experiment, I guess, a living experiment, to start to learn myself about what it is I would want to teach people. And I think what I learned really quickly is that if you're teaching the right way, you're learning twice. And so I would have, on average, 32 people in one of these classes, one of these lectures, and that's a large number. You sort of start forgetting names but remembering faces at that point. And it would end up after that syllabus that they would create their own photo book as a result of doing the work that we would do during that course. And some of the photo books, I can't even tell you, they're just stunning objects, stunning pieces of work that often I would be looking at the work thinking, well, I wish I'd made that myself, quite incredible ideas, concepts that came to life in an object form as a photo book. And so I would, in the practice of doing that course, I would offer to buy these books off these students to create a record and an archive of the work that was created. And that taught me a hell of a lot over the years, even after doing that 10-year stint at university, taking that into real life workshops with photographers, taught me a lot about why I do what I do. We can talk about, as photographers, what we do. Like, there's no problem there, especially men, right? Give us half a chance to talk about anything and we'll get your ear off.
There you go. Yeah.
And we can also talk about how we do it. No problem. There are billion-dollar industries built around how we do it, and gadgets and equipment.
Yeah.
It's an easy conversation to have. And so that's where we usually start this conversation of being a photographer, with the how and the what. But very rarely do we as photographers talk about why we do what we do. And even if we did, it's not usually the first thing we talk about. But I think it's probably the most important thing to talk about. And it has a huge influence, huge effect on the what and the how when we start with why. So my workshops really start with why. And we look at who's showing up. And I think it's really important that we gauge, as photographers, what we do and how we do it by really putting the mirror up to ourselves and sharing with people what's important. What are our non-negotiables, really, I think.
So kind of turning the metaphorical lens on yourself before you turn the lens on other things.
I think it's important, knowing that and being able to describe that ground you stand on. It allows you to move off in different directions when you want to move off in different directions. We live in a very fast world. Like, there's no argument there, right? It's fast. But we know it's fast only because we can compare what slow is. So how would you describe that aspect of your life that is slow? We pick up our phones to look at one screen. We look at the back of our cameras to look at another screen. And then to relax at night, we go home and sit in front of an even bigger screen. So when is it not pixels? I know for me as a photographer, having started with large format 8x10, 4x5, 120 roll film, carrying enough equipment around to look like I needed a Sherpa with me, that it was very physical. It was very process-based. It was going to get tests from the lab, clip check, transparency film, to make sure, it was on track during a shoot and then going back to the shoot. So it was very hands-on, very physical, a lot about making prints. And with my own photo books, a lot about making book dummies. So everything gets printed, the proofs get printed, the living room floor gets covered with prints to check and test and sit with what happens to this print when I put this one next to it. And there are apps and there are programs and there are ways to subvert that so that we don't ever have to be off our laptop or our studio screen. But there's a strong limitation to the effect that has on our learning ability. It's only, in my opinion, when we get really physical with the work we do as photographers that we start to really learn what we're up to and learn from our pictures. We learn a lot from, I've got over 1,000 books, I think, in my photo book collection at home. The shelves are full. And there's some incredible work by incredible artists on those shelves. And I love that. And I love the potential of that sitting there. And it is commonly used reference for me. And there are a myriad of other influences and inspirations that we all draw on as photographers. But at some point, also, we have to be able to put that down and be our own source of our own inspiration. And that starts with, I think, getting revenge on the pixels, which was a lot about the talk I'll do at PMRE and the workshop I'll do as well. The talk will sit alongside the workshop and the workshop will sit alongside the talk.
Okay. So revenge on the pixels. What is, revenge on the pixels. What is that? What do you mean by that?
Well, it's a little bit like, in the media talking about sustainability and environmental impact. There's a lot of conversation about carbon footprint. This is a little bit like our pixel footprint. Getting some sense of, yes, the technology is important, but it's not the only thing.
Right.
I think the use of technology and how quickly we can work is fantastic as photographers. We can go in and we can dive in quickly and deep and explore faster than we've ever been able to explore before. And I love that. But that can't be it. I think we need to be able to have a sense of what's appropriate at different times. And we're very adept at doing things quickly. So much so that I would say it's a little bit like being at the net in tennis and volleying the whole time. Very fast. It's very reactionary. It's that fast-moving water. And we know it's fast by virtue of comparison. So we can say, well, yes, that's an important part of being a good tennis player, but it's not tennis. We know by virtue of being on the court, maybe at the net volleying, if we look over our shoulder, there's a whole tennis court behind us.
Right.
And so if we then decide to move to the back of the court, we've got a whole set of other decisions we can make about what we do next. We can see the whole tennis court in front of us. We can see the stadium, the sky, the opposition, and the net. And then suddenly life changes. The perspective, our perception changes of what we're looking at. And so I think we're good at fast, but are we good at slow? Slow is a skill. And I think that's something that needs to be made aware of for a start and then exercised. It needs to be patiently exercised and utilized and worked into our practices so that we get to feel like we are fully exploring this medium. And to do things like make photo books, whatever your personal project is that you are either working on now or imagine working on or haven't even thought about for a number of years because you've been so busy. How is that going to take shape? How are you actually in this busy life going to do that at all?
Do you have the answer?
Well,
because share it with me, please.
Well, I'm doing all of the things, and I don't I don't for a minute suggest I'm doing it the right way. I don't think there is a right way, but I think I'm not going to die wondering. I'm leaving no stones unturned, and it does involve asking for help along the way, but definitely asking for what you need from people. I think it's an art form, And
I've been thinking about that a lot lately. You know,
there are definitely skills that need to be carefully maintained and worked on. And
well, and I think that goes hand in hand with that kind of notion of turning the lens on yourself or knowing yourself. If you know yourself, then you also maybe have a handle on what you need. And if you can really be honest with yourself, you can know what you need help with. And then hopefully you've developed the confidence to be able to ask for that help. And, you know, I've been personally over the last few months trying to, kind of inspired by a friend of mine, just kind of ask for what I want and what I need rather than not. And, you know, it doesn't always work out or happen, but then it kind of surprisingly does a lot of the time. If you're just direct and, you know, don't try to play games. So
yeah, I think the greatest, sincerest form of currency is acknowledgement.
Mm-hmm.
And, you know, money is important. Clearly, we need that, but we don't utilize or talk about other, I think, really important currencies like acknowledgement. And I think when we do put ourselves in a position of vulnerability, like it does when we ask for help, you know, that's being vulnerable. People love to help. They love to acknowledge other people.
They do
through that act of service.
Yeah.
I do those things by themselves, and I think it's important that we are able to connect with other people.
I've been thinking about that so much because I'm doing this other podcast now, and it's really about, so much of it is about kind of masculinity and being vulnerable within that, and being and allowing as men to be vulnerable. And because what I've really learned over time is that vulnerability is the key to connection. If you are, you know, vulnerable, people find that they feel like they can help you, and then that makes them feel good, or they identify with you. Because if you're being vulnerable about something, pretty much I'm pretty positive other people feel those same vulnerabilities. And when they see that in you, they're going to be like, oh man, that guy, he understands me. And that forms a connection. And, or I understand him, and that forms a connection. But man, I'm telling you, it can be so scary. And I was just talking with my podcast partner this morning, because we've had some stuff going on, and it's like, we're both feeling it because it's been this raw journey for us. And it was like, we have what I know is like a vulnerability hangover. It's like sometimes when you're out there and you're sharing it with even just one person or several people, it's like there's a moment maybe a couple days later where you're like, oh my God. And it's almost like a hangover, because I feel like a pit in my stomach, and like, oh my God, I messed up. I you know, oh God, what did I say? What did I do? But I think ultimately what we have to remember is that it feels very uncomfortable sometimes in the moment, and it can feel uncomfortable later. But I think ultimately you're going to feel better for having done it, and you'll have more connections in the world because of it.
100%. Couldn't agree more. Really beautifully said.
But I am curious though. So I'm going to ask for what I want. I want a clear understanding of, in your workshop, is it like therapy, or are you actually going to get the camera out, or, you know, what is it? Is it like a classroom kind of thing, or is it also like a hands-on like workshop?
It's definitely a hands-on workshop. It's 80-90% practical.
Okay.
Those that have attended the workshops Mike and I have done in Finland and in Japan last year, they'll know exactly what we're talking about. And there's a lot of surprise element. You know what you need to know as you need to know it, and not before. Everything's very well worked out, very curated, but not holding such a tight grip that it doesn't allow for everyone's individuality to come out. And that's what's really important about the workshops, is that people get to see themselves and each other in situations they wouldn't normally find themselves in, all in order to really learn a lot more about not just photography, but about who's, in this case, behind the camera, but putting themselves in front of the camera, making that camera smaller and making that person behind it bigger. And I think that voice is what people all crave for when they're making pictures, that they are unmistakably making pictures that they made, and they're in those pictures. I think that's really important, that we separate ourselves from from a myriad of other photographers and the work we see out there, that it's unmistakably their work.
Yeah.
We'll look at Mike Kelly's work or Emma Peters' work, and they unmistakably see their work. It's definitely theirs, and there's a reason for that.
Yeah.
And I think those two are great examples because they've worked out very clearly over time, of course, where they stand when they make their work and who's making those pictures.
Yeah.
Very clear.
I think ultimately it's true that when we are really being intentional about things, our photographs are our voice. And I think as humans, we all want to be heard. And through your photos, I think you can be heard. And I think that's a beautiful thing.
It definitely is. And then it's, what do then people say about the work you make? What do they see when they look at your work? Yeah. And asking for feedback, getting feedback.
I don't like that. I don't like that because what if it's bad? Oh man, then I put myself out there and then it's bad. See, that's my vulnerability hangover, right? I'm too scared of the negative reactions. This is why I podcast. I don't know. Yeah, geez.
Yeah.
Well, all that I think definitely takes a lot of action, which I think means it's time for our action items. Our action items today are sponsored by Pixel CRM, the only CRM that is made by a real estate photographer for real estate photographers and media professionals. It's an amazing tool, fully fleshed out. You can do so many things with Pixel CRM. I urge you to check it out. It's Pixel CRM. That's PIXL CRM.com. And if you add right after that.com, if you add a little /Upmarket, you're going to be able to get a free month of service to check it out. So check out pixelcrm.com/upmarket. So Simon, I'm talking to you tomorrow. I'm yesterday for you because of the dateline. So I'm going to go first.
And you down here. Sorry about that.
I'll go first because I have a very simple one and it's a very unexpected one, but I think kind of like this. I challenge. My action item is for all of our real estate media owners to maybe one of these days in your stories on Instagram, post a meme. Let's go with the Simon Devitt thing, because I think one of the things that we want to do in social media is we want to create engagement with our audience. And I think sometimes like memes can be a way of doing that because memes are memes for a reason. People respond to them. They like them. And as I'm kind of going down a different social media journey lately, that engagement is just realizing that engagement is so key, but that engagement does not always have to be on content that you've created. And I'm not necessarily saying go as nutso as Simon does, but like, let's, maybe just one or two once a week or something, I think could be a way to kind of make your content a little bit different than it normally is, and a way to create maybe some engagement or some laughs from your followers. So there it is. Post a damn meme.
Nice.
All right, Simon, you're up.
And to really get a sense of how that can be done, you might need to have a look at a few of mine. As Reed rightly points out, you don't need to have 300 dots appearing at the top. Some people like that, that's one of the
it's kind of, I think it's kind of fun. So, I'll give you shit for it, but I think it's kind of fun.
I'll take that shit and I see your shit and I'll raise you.
All right, I'm sure you will. All right. So actually, you got an action item for us?
Yeah, certainly. I was just thinking, when you asked me this question ahead of coming on today, I was thinking about some of the things I used to do when I first started out. And so this action item is for those people who are maybe, 3 to 5 years deep into their shooting career. And I really like that kind of naive energy, bringing to any situation where you're happy to make a mistake, you're happy to work it out on the fly, and you're doing things how you think they should be done, not typically how they're done by convention. So really, here's a good example. When I first started out, there was a building that was just being built here in Auckland. I'm looking at it right now, actually, over there. And the developer I approached, because he hadn't yet sold the penthouse apartment in the very top. And it's sort of stood there beautifully, like Batman should live there. It was a very at the time very beautiful piece of architecture. And I thought, well, I'm at the very beginning of my career as a photographer, and it's important for people to have good experiences. That they'll remember that, having had a good time, more than they'll remember what it was about.
Sure.
And so I approached the developer. I said, listen, I've taken some really beautiful pictures of your building. I'd really love to have a cocktail party, auction off some of my prints for the Child Cancer Foundation, and play a little bit of music in exchange for some of my photos. What do you think? And he's like, absolutely. I thought, this guy's nuts, because what ended up happening was that at the end of the night, if we work our way backwards from the end, is that noise control came along and shut us down. But what happened that led up to that was, in fact, really fantastic. And everyone that I invited along that night had an incredible time. They talked about it for years afterwards. They all went away with a T-shirt in their size with some of my very subtle branding of the time on there, which was in the smallest type possible, barely readable, barely printable. I see you have an eye for detail. And then my new website address on the back of it. My friends were cocktail waiters and waitresses handing out the drinks and the hors d'oeuvres. One of my other friends was a DJ. There were images projected on the wall. The local photography gallery of the time, the owner of that gallery came along and spoke about my work. I think it's always better that someone speaks about you than you speak about yourself. We had the Child Cancer Foundation people there, and we raised, I think, $10,000 that night, and then by auctioning off prints. So I think the occasion was great. The outcome was significant. Whether people remembered what it was about became irrelevant, because people will always remember having a good time. And so I think when you start to use experiences as association with your brand, or who you are and what you do, then you're off to a good start.
Okay. Your action item is to use an experience to promote your brand. Yeah. Create an experience.
Yeah, we do that with our kids, right? In our families, we put ourselves purposely in situations where we're making memories. I think that's significant. That is absolutely significant.
Wow, that's a great analogy. Yeah. Simon, thank you so much. You're very thoughtful, and I think there's a lot to chew on here. And I'm really looking forward to hanging out with you in Las Vegas and hearing what you have to say. And I think it's going to be fantastic. So really appreciate your time. Thank you so much for being on.
My pleasure, Reed. Thanks so much. I'm really, really excited for PMRE in November. Can't wait.
Fantastic. And thank you, of course, to all on the Upmarket team, Bethany for editing, Chelsea for producing. And thank you most of all to our listeners and, actually our sponsors too. I always got to thank our sponsors. Thank you to our listeners. Without you, we wouldn't be able to do this. So thank you for listening. And we are going to be back next week. Thank you. Upmarket is a production of Upmarket Studios. This episode was produced by Chelsea Froelich and edited by Bethany Diedrich. Thank you so much for listening, and we really hope you listen to the next one too. In the meantime, our wish for you is to not have to shoot any Friday night Twilight shoots. Thank you for everything.